contact and self-carriage, which is so important. But I'm just doing all of these early basics. Now let's do longer. Now what do you think of longer as? A bit of a nudge. I know we've got a spur on, so be a bit careful of that, but just a little bit of a nudge with the leg and go long and just make him really long. So now your hands move longer and your seat goes longer, but they don't go faster or slower. Like as if you tell him a tempo change when you're asking longer, you've mixed that up. So you see, one of your journeys in dressage, it's true for jumpers as well as event riders, event horses especially too, you've got to separate tempo from stride length. So now he's got a big overtrack. That's really good. And now he's also got longitudinal flexion. And so when we train this, if he actually raises his head or pricks his ears for too long, like, if he starts to look at something, you can assume he's probably gone shorter and you can push him again. But that's good, a good big stride. Now, if he goes too low like that, because then he starts to shorten up his stride, you'll notice now he's doing a shorter overtrack. You can actually give him a nudge again, say, to raise his head, but don't lift him with your hands. Just do, because if you lift him with your hands, that's a rein aid of something like shortening. And you didn't want shortening, you want a lengthening. You see, you fix this with the same aid that created the movement in the first place. Yeah, so if he goes too low, you just assume he's gone shorter. So basically when you want longer, whatever he gives you with his head and neck, just push him longer so that he goes back to his original posture. But that's good. Okay, now let's do the opposite. Now with your hands, we want him to go shorter, but in dressage we don't use that term shorter, we use the word collected when he gets there. And why that is so is because it comes from the French word, rassembler, which implies more than just collection. It implies that we actually rebuild him to some extent and change his shape. And that's because, if you stop there, when we shorten him, we raise our hands and we lift his pole up, because when the pole has a shorter distance to the wither, it biomechanically shortens his step. Now, this has been known for a long time. If you read Podolsky and those famous old books, they talk about the importance of the neck being a representation of the stride length. And then when he goes long, his neck goes long like before, and that allows his stride length to go long. When he raises his pole, it comes up. And that's the true element of collection. So that makes the short step when we go up. So also it makes the aid easy to discriminate from the horse's point of view, because this is slowing, woo, and this is shortening, up. And it's a brief aid, just like the nudge of the heel is a really brief aid, so too is the lifting of the hand. Okay, so squeeze him on for go. And first of all, get him a little bit longer, but don't throw your reins away, just longer, and push his neck longer and his nose out. Good, push him there until he gives you a bit more overtrack. Good. So your seat goes longer, your hands go longer. Now when you ask him to shorten or collect, you'll raise your hands briefly and go and woo, and your seat suddenly goes short and your hands go short in their movement and woo. So now he's into his front tracks, and that's what a collected walk should be. It should be into the front tracks. Okay. Now when you do that, one thing that it's important to do is to now soften your hands, like test your self-carriage. And what I mean by testing self-carriage, run your hands forward together. In the German system, they call this Überstraschen, and it's a very important technique that you can run your hand forward and check that he stays in the same speed, the same posture, and the same straightness, like he doesn't lose anything. So show us really clearly. Don't give him a loopy rein with your hands for just 2 steps. Yeah, that's it. And if he happens when you run your hands forward to then go longer, then he's telling you that he's not quite clear what you mean, because he thinks that the aid for going longer is the release of the rein pressure. So you've got to tell him, no, he should be in self-carriage. You're saying, work, now give. And give your hands, give. Let him go. Let his nose go out, because he looks like he's still held there. Yep. Actually, let your reins go a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. Yeah, so he's softer in the body. Yeah, let them go run your hands, reins through your hands a little bit more, and let him go softer. Right, and now push him longer, so your hands go in a big way. Let him really stretch his nose out. Right, keep going a little bit more with his nose. A little bit longer, so under his gullet is open. It's hard to do. That's it. Right, now from there, just see if you can raise your hands up and shorten him up. So first of all, I'm not worrying about whether he's round enough yet. I'm just saying goal number one is, can you raise his pole? Up high, up, go woo, woo, upwards. That's it. Up, good. And then soften. Good, there. So now he stays. And if he didn't, we'd go again. We'd go up, woo, and stay. Self-carriage is a really important thing, because if he's not in self-carriage and he feels held and trapped, you know, dogs get aggressive if they're on a chain compared to if they're not. You often see that. And any animal that's restrained and feels like he's held can start to bite. Horses often do it if they're on strong aids and they push through the handler's lead rein even. Stallions do it a lot. I often say to people, you know, if you tell me you've trained a bird to sit on your arm, you've got to let go of his wings. Because if you're still holding his wings, I'm not convinced that he's trained there. I think it's something else. So we've got to think of the same self-carriage for horses. But it's not because it looks more beautiful, which I think it does. He looks more free in his musculature. But it's also because it's better for his mental health. Like, see, when he feels like he's doing it all by himself, he's no longer feeling trapped. That's really good. Okay, so so let him have a little walk now. That's our three elements of the go button. Going up and down gait, going faster and slower, and going longer and shorter. And we've done all of those. I want to have a look at turns, and then we'll move into another area. How am I going for time? I've got a quarter of an hour, I think. That's good. What I want you to do is have a think of this one, Bridget. Have you heard of the indirect turn?
Indirect turn?
Yeah, the indirect. With the rein. Like an indirect rein. But see, people are often quite aware of the indirect rein, which is the closing rein. But you see, if you use an indirect rein, but without anything from the legs happening, you lose the leg connection. And you want to make sure that everything you do in the start, that you prioritise leg control. You've got to have control of the legs. It's really important. The same in hand, you want to have control of the legs. When you control the horse's legs, and many people say this, many of the natural horsemanship people say the same thing, when you control the legs, you control the mind. It's so important. So when you think you've got two, think about it, you've got two reins and you want to change direction, you've got two choices. I like to think that the turn is not that, because that's too much like slowing. And you're not asking the horse to slow the leg, you're asking him to actually turn it. So you want the horse's legs to be like a mirror image of what your hands are doing. So you go open, right? And that's your turn. Now you've got two reins. So this one can open. If you shift both hands right, one's opening but one's closing. And what I'm saying is this indirect turn is a really important thing. Now I'm pretty confident to start talking about it, but I never used to be 10 years ago. But ever since I've been to the British Horse Society and I've been in Germany telling them, you need to do this indirect turn. Because, you see, if every rider does this, they close the rein, but since we don't train it as a basic, a lot of the horses never get to know what the hell it is. And a lot of them get sacked because they've got problems with the outside rein. You need to teach the horse really clearly so that when both hands shift this away, he does that, and when both hands shift that away, he does that. So you've got shoulder control, really good shoulder control. If you don't, in jumping, it turns into a horse that now you turn left, but he doesn't turn left, his legs are going right, and he falls out, and he starts to lose straightness, and he doesn't jump so well. In dressage, it causes all sorts of other issues, and it leads to other problems. So that's why I'm saying, and I'll be repeating this later, if you want to make a really simple system for the horse, go back. There are some good things that the old French methods had, and that was making sure that the front legs are controlled by your reins and the back legs are controlled by your legs as their initial training connection. Because if you count it, you've got basically down the gate slower, shorter and turns. That's 4 things from the reins. And you've got up the gate faster, longer and yielding from the hind legs. That's 4 things from the hind legs. And the horse can discriminate it. But if everything comes from your leg, like the modern mantra where people say it's all about go, and I use my leg for this, I use my leg for that, I wouldn't want to be that horse because it's too confusing. And when horses start to show behaviour problems, that's when things really start to go wrong and can get dangerous for both. So let's have a look at that. And of course, every rider knows if you're galloping, if your horse bolts, you're not going to use any other aim. You're just going to go whoa. If your horse, and every event rider knows if you're galloping towards a skinny fence and he starts to veer to the right, you're not going to use your outside leg. You might pretend you do and tell your pupils to do it, but it doesn't work. You're going to go back. You want perfect control so that you can steer him. You know, that's why you won't see bridleless eventing happening, I don't think. So let's have a look at his steering. So one way we can do this is just do a very mild turn of 2 steps to the right and then to the left. And when you do it, Bridget, when you use your right rein to turn right, just loop your left rein. So because then we'll see also other signs of his biomechanical, basic engineering showing up all over again, because there'll be a difference in the way he turns right and left probably, unless she's trained it right out of him. Let's have a look. But this is the standard T model 4. This is what you see. They're usually right front leg. So let your left leg go, your left rein go and turn right. Now let your right rein go and turn left, and that's enough and give. Yeah, so don't do too steep. So make sure it's nothing steeper than a 6 metre circle, so it's really shallow. So go turn, that's enough, good. Now turn left, and that's enough, good. And keep doing that, and see if you can ask him. Your timing's pretty good, but see if you can be sure to ask him when the same side foreleg leaves the ground as it leaves. So you turn, which way are you going to turn? Left, now. And you turn right now or now, and you turn left now or now. So that that leg actually goes over like this. Because see, this is the origin of it, like a pirouette even, because he's got to turn his foreleg. So that's good. Okay, that's your basic direct turn. Can you feel a difference between the turns in just this little diagnostic test between the right and left turn? Like the 3 things that you'll feel will be he'll either be bending his neck, he'll be heavy, or he'll be delayed to one turn or the other.
He's just a little stiffer to the right, so it's
Yeah.
easier to turn him right, because the left will kind of bend his body a little bit.
Exactly, and this is the common theme. If they're right front leg runners, they're stiffer to the right, so they're a bit heavier. So what you would do to help that, because heavy means they're probably not listening much to the right rein. So you would go vibrate to turn right, and when you turn left, they go hollow left. So that means they're actually not turning left immediately. You're going left, and they're going, hang on, my head's going, but my legs still haven't caught up. Now they're going. So you would actually help him with a little bit rein there, or a tappity tap with the whip on the shoulder, or you might even help him with the outside rein. So that's that. Now the other turn is the indirect turn. Let's have a look at that one. Now I reckon he will know it, because see, the horse, by the time he gets here, he has some idea of it, but it's the riders that need to know it so they can train it in the beginning. So ride him on a circle to the right, say 15 metres diameter, and then make your left rein do nothing, so it's really soft, passive, doing nothing. With your right rein, just push your right rein to the left, like right to his neck, so it makes the circle bigger. That's it, good. That's an indirect turn left. Good, well done. So that's our basic turn. And now go left rein. Now he does it off that rein, and he'll probably do it even easier this way because he loves to fall out right, because that's his right front leg running thing. So push him with your inside rein out. That's a good example of an indirect turn to the right. Good. Right, so he's got that. So then when we've trained this, and not every horse does this, it's actually not that common. So we have to train it. So we'd actually push, and the horse might resist it. And if he doesn't go, we'd give him a little hint with the other and say, it's this one. He goes like this, and then we soften. And teaching the horse this indirect turn gives you really good steering, because you can actually put his front legs exactly on your railway tracks. And notice if you go, let his nose go really long, or not too long, not loose. I never mean a loose rein. I mean with a connection, okay. And now if you give him an indirect turn, so yeah, like that way. I was going to say do it from the inside out. So go left now, turn left, and do it with your left rein. And notice how you get flexion straight away from that. So it's a good way of achieving flexion. They always give you flexion in an indirect turn, but they also give you roundness. So for me, when he comes round really easy, it's not so easy to see. But if he was a green horse, it would be a very easy demo, because you would see that when he's got a long neck and say he's not usually round, you'll do stop and go and get it really perfect, so he's really light. And then when you do indirect turns, that'll be your first sign of roundness. And it's just the easiest, and it's the oldest way of getting, I mean, it's not, I didn't invent it, it's been around for a couple of 100 years, but we've lost it. So maybe just show that again, pick him up a little bit, and just show that when you do an indirect turn, do it until he flexes and gives you a bit more roundness, and you get that quite easily. And then soften when you've got it. Okay, now turn left, and now left. Oh, sorry, I mean direct turn left. Direct turn left, and now an indirect turn with that left rein to the right. Good, and you'll get him. He's already well and truly round enough. So, but anyway, that's how you would do it when a horse doesn't do it. So you can play with that indirect turn, and you'll see that it gives you roundness. Now, finally, just talking about the contact, which was part of my remit on this, I really felt, looking at the lineup, I needed to definitely talk about these basic responses, because I can't talk about what I need to talk about in contact without that. But once we've got the horse clear on all of these things, then what we want him to do is to do all of these movements, all these basic responses, without changing it, like keep doing it. And that's the essence of rhythm, and that's the essence of self-carriage. So in other words, we would want our rein contact. So this is a loose rein, and this is contact, and it's just a light feel of his mouth. In other words, just a little connection to his lips. It's about 200 grams, so we want it to be like that. Because if we got 200 grams, about 1.5 kilograms is too much, and anything above that is too much. But it's commonly above 2, 3 or 4 kilograms. It's too much. It just means also from the point of view of communication, when it's really light and low, we've then got the other pressures just above 200 grams to play with. You know, we can say, okay, 500 grams, he'll feel that. And you've got a slowing aid there, or at 800 grams. But if you've got a really strong contact, he won't be feeling, even if you give him 500 grams more, because he's already quite dead to the pain in his mouth. So that's the contact. It's just the straight rein. The contact of our leg is just our leg on his sides. And again, we haven't measured that, but maybe it's about 200 grams. I don't know what it is, but it's really just the feel of your legs on his sides. So if you rub your legs on his sides, he stays there. That's good. He just says, yeah, that means nothing, so that's good work for you. Some horses, you do this, like, that must mean go. And you say, no, it doesn't mean anything. Because you want him to be comfortable with the feel of your legs on his body. And of course your seat's going to be in contact unless you're tipping forward or something like that. So it's really just the contact of your seat, your legs, and your hands on his body at a very light connection. From the rein aids, it's the hardest one. So you really want just straight reins where you can feel you can do things, and that means keeping the contact, just as Bridget does. She did a good job with that, where she moves her hands forward and back, and she uses her aids during the backward movement of the hands, like the woo woo, all of that sort of thing. And then the test of self-courage. So just before we finish with Bridget, we've got 5 minutes to go. Let's have a little trot. And we'll have a look at, okay. So one of the things I've been trying to push the FEI to introduce, but it's a slow job, and that is to introduce more tests of self-carriage. If they want to protect horse welfare, in every single movement you could show a sign of self-carriage. So for example, as she's going, what Bridget can do, she can, as a test of self-carriage of straightness, like you're on this line, and that's good. You're not against the wall, so keep on that line. Don't go to the wall. And as you go, I want you to release your right rein and see what he does. And if he stays on her line, we can say he's relatively straight from the rein aid. If you give the right rein away and he suddenly veers left, we know that he was held right. If you give your other rein away, give that rein away, see, does he change line? So you can give each rein away. You can also keep going, and take one leg away. And that's a test for self-carriage of the go button. That, you don't want to be, if you're having to tell the horse to go every single step, he's not in self-carriage and he's being nagged and it's not good for him. So take one leg away, so your right leg, we can't see it, we just have to hope she does. And then take your right leg away again, good, yep. And your left leg away, both legs away. And if he stays going, that's really good, very good. Okay. So then we can also now give both reins away. That's that Überstreichen test. Good. Now that's really good. Now just do that again, Bridget. Now when you do that, does he lengthen his neck a little bit? Yeah, he does a little weeny bit. Now he doesn't lengthen a lot, but he's telling you that his best position for achieving this in the musculature of his neck is actually a little bit longer than what you think. It's only 1 centimetre, but it's all the difference to help him move better and use his body better. So we'll just have a look at that again. So as you go, just test your self-carriage again. Run your hands forward, big loop with your hands, right there. Now keep doing it, because he'll stay there. He's really good. Oh, he's looking at something. That's good. Do it again. Good. Now he's not screaming out and saying, "Oh, thank God for that," or going completely hollow. He's just moving his nose out a little bit more, and he's just saying, "This is where I'm most comfortable." This is the old way of riding horses too, that is all about the nose being in front of the vertical. It still says it in the FEI rules 9 times that the nose should be in front of the vertical and the pole raised. But we are one sport, or dressage is at least, that has rules but doesn't follow them much. We need to. This is why there's tests for self-carriage. So you could maybe do a leg yield, and he would still. So if you yield him anywhere, just maybe do a leg yield.
Leg yield?
Yep. So we'll make it simple. We won't do anything too complicated, but just a leg yield. So down the centre maybe, or down there, and yield him away from the sides. And as you go sideways, just keep yielding and test your self-carriage as you go. Yeah, a little bit more obviously. Yeah, a bit loopy, more loop in the rein. So just make it so, like I'm the judge, and don't forget I'm going to give you a 10 if you do it. But if I can't see it, I'm going to not give you much more than 6. Okay? Yeah, good. So do that. And you don't need, if you do it for longer than 2 strides, it's a natural tendency of the horse to push his nose out and follow the contact. That's another technique. That's the contact in German. That's Anlehnung. This is different to Überstreichen. Überstreichen is just for a couple of beats, because, as I said, if you let them go for longer, he will stretch out. And you want him to do that. The horse that doesn't do that, if he stays up like this, even when your reins are really loose, he's been really hurt. Like if someone's going, whack, don't ever do it. Whereas if he follows the rein down, that's good. So we need both techniques. So if you let your reins go for longer, he will start to stretch a little bit lower and down. So show that one, Bridget. So as you go around the corner, just give both reins longer and let him stretch longer. And there, and a little bit longer. Good. Now that's what you want. That's a good sign. For me, that's better horse welfare than the horse that stays afraid of the bit. Okay, so have a little walk now. Now, who's in charge of the schedule here? Yeah, you are. Are we done? Are we just having a talk now? Is that the idea?
Take a bit of a break after.
Oh, okay. All right, okay. That's great. Look, I want to thank you very much. You've done a super job.
Thank you.
Good. Good boy. Okay, so, oh, come on,
Sorry.
you're on.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll just